Nichols is shot in the video, as well as one of the responding officers. Um, in the spray of bullets, police shot a bystander in the head, and they said they grazed another woman with a bullet. But actually, the New York Times reported that the woman was, in fact, not grazed, but a bullet is lodged in her leg and she can't walk.
And the family of the other bystander who was injured by police shots, Gregory Delpech, spoke out after the video came out, right?
That's right. So Delpech is the bystander I mentioned, police shot in the head. He's still in critical condition, fighting for his life, according to his family. His family spoke to reporters on Friday evening after footage was released. His cousin, Gregory Noguez, said the officer should not have used lethal force. Here's what he had to say.
He wasn't a threat. Why did you just call for bomb backup? He wasn't a threat. So I guess he wasn't even a threat.
So, Delpech's family called the NYPD, quote, reckless, and they're calling for an immediate suspension and firing of the two officers, Edmund Mays and Alex Wong.
WNYC's Bahar Ostadon, thank you for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.
WNYC is supported by Suffs, the Broadway musical about an era where women were not allowed to vote, but were allowed to fight. Their story is a reminder that the world can be changed because they did it before. Tickets at suffsmusical.com.
Currently 61 degrees. It's going to be partly sunny today with a high around 70. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 58. This is WNYC.
In the run-up to the election, we're looking at political polarization in America, in particular how companies intensify or ease political divides by taking sides, taking stands, and or bringing us together by promoting constructive dialogue.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Clear Channel Outdoor, an out-of-home advertising company with a nationwide network of billboards, offering data-driven solutions that help businesses big and small reach their consumers with accuracy, impact, and scale. Billboardsforbusiness.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. Today, in our series Office Politics, what data from scientific surveys tell us about what partisan divides are doing to workplaces. The Polarization Research Lab out of Dartmouth College regularly checks the polarization temperature on the job. Data from this year show 25%, a quarter of Americans say they've avoided a work colleague due to differing political views. A worrisome percentage also say they've avoided getting help because of a colleague's positions on general issues. Sean Westwood is director of the Polarization Research Lab. Professor, welcome.
Great to be here.
Before we get to chewing on some survey numbers from you, give us a quick sense. What is the Polarization Lab and what does it do?
So it's our goal to try to understand how and why partisanship divides America and what, if anything, we can do about it. Each week, we survey 1,000 Americans asking about their views on partisanship, their views on democratic norms, their views on partisan violence, and how political trust is evolving.
That's interesting. Views on partisan violence, you said. That's an important indicator?
It's something that's really in the public consciousness. I think there are many who are worried that we're on the cusp of a civil war, but our data shows that really only about 1 or 2% of Americans support partisan violence. So while it's certainly concerning and certainly a problem, our data show that it's not the case that we're facing true open conflict or even systematic acts of violence motivated by partisanship.
And to be clear, you find that low percentage, but still it exists on both ends of the political spectrum?
It exists on both ends of the political spectrum. It's about the same in both parties. And what's really important is that these are individuals who would be violent for any reason. It's not that we're turning average Americans against one another just because of partisanship. These are people who would punch someone in a bar, but they're now just willing to do that because of partisanship.
Now, we're especially interested here in employees with strong political feelings on one side or the other in the workplace, polarization in the workplace. What do you know?
It's our view that partisanship shouldn't decide who we hire and who we work with, but nonetheless, it's happening across America. Our data show that 1 in 10 Americans has avoided asking for help at work because of the partisanship of the person they might ask. And 1 in 4 has not talked to someone at work because of partisanship. It's creating distance in the workplace and making the workplace less efficient.
That's a lot of friction in the workplace. Is it widespread? Is it occasionally? What are you finding?
So we find that it's pretty consistent across individuals and across places of employment. There doesn't really appear to be safe harbors in the way that we might want or desire.
I mean, that would be concerning, right? I mean, certainly if you're running a company. On the other hand, companies are under pressure often from stakeholders, often employees, to take a stand on crucial issues that are deeply felt by the employees or the customers.
Absolutely. Although it's important to recognize that employees have political preferences and that they feel that the company should engage on those political preferences, that might not necessarily be the answer. A simpler and more effective approach to reducing political tension at work might be to make work a place that's just for work. Politics does not need to be ever present in our lives. If I were to give advice to employers, I would say set norms of respectful disengagement from politics in the workplace.
I mean, you think that really works? I mean, some companies have tried and then it forced other controversial issues to the surface. You know, people felt very strongly about a big public policy issue or the way the company was run, and it led to more rancor. You know, you do see cases of that.
It might seem radical to remove politics from the workplace, and there are undoubtedly going to be employees who will push back or quit. But I think the real worry is that if we don't act now, political tensions will get worse, and it will be much harder to fix the problem in the future. So it's going to be difficult to try and restructure the role of politics in the workplace. But if we don't do something now, I really worry that we're headed for a much darker future.
Sean Westwood is director of the Polarization Research Lab at Dartmouth. Thank you for this.
It's been great.
All of our polarization coverage, we call the ongoing series Office Politics, is accumulating and streamable from marketplace.org. About 2.5 hours here before markets open in full. S&P futures are up 0.2%. NASDAQ futures are up 0.3%. We're going into autumn here with the S&P 500 up 20% year to date.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance. The Name Your Price tool provides a range of coverage options. Progressive.com. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And by Amazon Business, focused on offering smart business buying solutions, leaving time to focus on growth. More at AmazonBusiness.com.
Congressional negotiators reached a bipartisan deal over the weekend to fund federal agencies and avoid a government shutdown in a week. Lawmakers still have to pass this into law. Here's Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer.
The deal would fund the federal government through December 20th. It's shorter than the 6-month resolution House Speaker Mike Johnson wanted, and the new deal drops a GOP provision known as the SAVE Act, which would have required proof of citizenship to vote. In a Dear Colleague letter yesterday, House Speaker Johnson cited polls showing almost 2/3 of likely voters oppose a government shutdown, including, in his words, large percentages of the Republican base. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer issued a statement saying he's hopeful that Congress can wrap up work on the temporary funding bill this week. It includes more than $200 million for the Secret Service, plus money to replenish the Federal Emergency Management Agency's disaster fund. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
And by 2026, stores in California will offer paper bags to people who didn't bring their own. Governor Gavin Newsom signed this into law yesterday. This means that now both thin throwaway plastic bags and thicker reusable ones will no longer be available in California. At a time studies suggest the poundage of plastic bags thrown out is still going up. Californians will still be able to get little plastic sacks to separate stuff like stinky fish. In Los Angeles, I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From 8 p.m., American Public